In lesson G4, we're going to be talking about translations. Now, there is a quiz scheduled at the end of this lesson, but I think we'll wait until Monday to just make sure there aren't any further questions on the reflections. But a translation, if we look at that, is when we take a strip of wallpaper design, we'll have a translation symmetry. It's when you can slide the design to a new position and make a new pattern. Notice the star is exactly the same. A transformation of a slide is when you match each point in the same image, then it's called a translation. So this star is sliding. Again, we're going to talk about the direction and the direction and the distance when we look at these. Now, if we label these points going around this, it says label the vertices G prime, H prime, J prime, K prime, L prime, and M prime, so that G prime is the image of G. So we notice where G is, so in the same spot, we're going to now have G prime. Where is H going to be? H prime. We should mark I prime or J prime. Okay? And if you'd continue going around your figure, you should have all of these labeled with the prime. So that's telling us that it's the new image. It then says draw a line segment from each vertex of this to our new image. Now, if you have a straight edge, this is wonderful if you have a straight edge. What you're going to notice that I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking at my line tool that I have. Once I find it, it's hidden here. And I'm going to draw a line that connects this point G prime exactly to G. I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to take the point at K and I'm going to attach it to K prime. I'm going to take J and I'm going to attach it to J prime. I can do that with every single one of my points. So I'm going to go from M, and notice I was just a little off of M, and I'm going to look at that one. So as I look at these, it says describe the pattern relating the length of this line G to G prime, J to J prime, K to K prime. What do we notice about their length? So what I want you to do is I'm going to have the sub pause the video. You need to take a ruler or a measurement stick or even a piece of paper and measure what is the length from G to G prime, and then I want you to compare that to the distance from J to J prime, K to K prime, L to L prime, and I want you to see if you notice a pattern about these segments that connect between the two figures. So you're going to pause the video, and when you come on, what you should have able to discuss with your shoulder partner and looked at the measurements is you are going to notice that all 6 line segments are the same length. Every single one of these is going to be the same length as we look at those. So that between the two figures, these lengths are always the same. Now, this kind of plays into when we're working with our coordinate plane. Similarly to yesterday, this is the starting point of our flag. So if we think of that, that's this point down here. -5, -4 up to -5, 2. Then we start it, -5, 2 to -4, 1, going to this point. And it says write the commands that draw flag 2 and then flag 3. Each set of commands should be drawn with the segments at the same order. So if we want to get to this new point, notice that this new point is looking at, here's our point 0. So we were at -5, we are now at -3. And our second point is that we're going to is still at -4. We're going to go all the way up. Instead of to -5, we're going to go at -3, 2 to this point. Whereas our new starting point, we should be filling in -3, 2, and we're going down to this point, which is located at 2, 1. Nope, excuse me, -2, 1. So this point is -2, 1. Where's our last point at? We're going to be going from -2, 1 to our last point, which is going to be located at -3, 0. How about to get to flag 3? So flag 3, we're going to switch our color as you're looking at this. Flag 3 is going to be our pink one. As we are looking at that one, to get to flag 3, we are now looking at this first point. That is going to be at -1. We're still down at -4. So notice as you look at these, our y coordinates aren't changing. What is changing is our x. And I want you to think what happened each time we moved it. How far are we sliding it or translating it? How far are we translating that from one flag to the next flag as we look at that? So here we're going to -1, 2. At -1, 2, we are now going to this point, which is located at 0, 1. from 0, 1, whereas our last point, it is at negative 1, 0. And again, just like yesterday, we want to compare our flags. We want to describe the pattern. So if we were describing it in words, we would want to say that we're moving the flag to the right. How far to the right? Well, keeping in mind when we started with our ordered pairs that x, y always moves us left and right, and y moves us up and down. To change our x coordinate, how is our original point changing? It's changing in that, look at what we did, from -5 to get to -3. From -3 to get to -1. We are taking our x coordinate and we are actually adding 2, and our y coordinate stays the same because we're not moving it up or down. So make sure you write down this rule. Sub, if you need to pause this, pause it so they can write it down. We now want to look in your notes at this next one, and this time notice our flag is moving not only to the right, but it's also moving up each time. So to the right and up, to the right and up. Our original one was starting here, -4, -4 to -4, 0. We then went to -3, -1, and our last point was at -4, 2. In this next picture, if we're going to start it, figure 2, what happened to our x coordinate? Well, it looks like it is now at this point, which is -2. And where is our y point? Well, this time our y is not down at -4, it's down at -3. -3. Where's the top of our flag? It's at -2, 1. This is the same point, -2, 1, the start of our flag. And now it's going to this point right here, which if we are looking at that, here's 0. We are moving back 1, so we're looking at -1, 0. -1, 0 is the start. Whereas our last point, we were looking at -2 and down 1, -1. Let's look at our last flag. Our last flag, we're going to do this one in red, flag 3. Where is the starting point of flag 3? It is down at -2, 0. The top of it is up at 0, 2. Where's the point of our flag? It is at 1, 1. So we're going from 0, 2 to 1, 1. We go from 1, 1 to our last point, which is located at 0, 0. And the question is, each time we were translating it, how were we moving our flag? If you think of it, each flag moved to the right 2 and up 1. To the right 2 and up 1. How do we write that? In our notation, so that we can show how x changes and y. If we are doing a translation, this is when we are going to add or subtract. In this case, we are moving to the right, so we are adding 2 to our x coordinate. How did our y coordinate change? It went up 1, y plus 1. What you will notice in reflections, remember, is that one of them became the opposite. In translations, you're always adding or subtracting. To the right, you add. To the left, you subtract. When you move up, you add. When you move down, you're going to subtract. So if you kind of want to put that in your notes, I think that's helpful. When you think of your x coordinate, if you're moving with your x coordinate, if you move to the right, you are always going to add. If you move to the left, you are going to subtract a point. And then when you're thinking about your y coordinate, if you move up, that's when you're going to add onto here like we did. If you are moving down for your y coordinate, that's when you're going to subtract that number. So the last one is going to be a little similar to the one you're doing in your homework. It says we want to move the figure 2 to the left and 3 down. So we want to think about how we're going to write this. Now, I kind of had a hard time fitting this in, so I'm going to go right below here because I have a little more room. Remember, we just said if we move to the left, we're going to subtract. That means I'm going to take x and subtract 2 from that whatever x coordinate is, and we want to move 3 down. And we just mentioned on that last page notes, and if you need to rewind the video to see it, we're going to subtract 3. Now, you actually don't need to do that if you're just asked to plot the points. We are going to count 2 to the left, down 3. 1, 2. So we're going to go 2 and then down 1, 2, 3. We're going to go 2 to the left and down 1, 2, 3. 2 to the left, down 1, 2, 3. So we have our triangle for our new picture. And again, you can see with the tablet, not so easy to draw. And if you think of this square, it's right in the middle of here. So could you almost draw it without doing it? Yes. To check, down over 2 to the left and down 1, 2, 3, which should be this point. And here is our new image as we are looking at that. This last one is just asking you, look at the rules below. Determine if they represent a translation. If they represent it, describe it in words. So here's our first one. The question is it a translation? So if we're looking at this one, did we add or subtract something? Yes. So is it a translation? Yes. Describing it in words. Adding means we're going to move it to the right. How far are we moving it to the right? 2. The -3 tells us we're going to move it down, because it's subtracting, 3. This next one, multiplying by 2. Not going to be a translation. That's something that happens that makes the points bigger or farther away. X plus 1 and 3y. This first one translates, but the second one does not, so it's not a translation. Take a look at the fourth one, pause the video, and see if you can explain what it is going to be. So I'll have you make sure you pause the video. As soon as the students have this written down, then you can unpause it and see my solution. We should have yes, y. We are going to move to the left 2 units, and we are going to go up 1 unit. It says write a rule for figure 3, for a figure that is 3 units to the right and 5 units down. So we're going to always start with our ordered pair x, y. If it's to the right, we're adding. If it's going down, we're subtracting. Always right and left is our x. X plus 3. Up and down is our y. Y minus 5. I would like you to try this next one on your own. Pause the video, sub, and then have the students check, and then walk around and check that they wrote it down. X, y. If you're checking yours now, 6 to the left, x minus 6, and y stays exactly the same. Your homework, you're going to be asked to do that translation. You got to give the rule. So just similar to how we were just giving our rules, you're going to give that. You're going to tell where the new points are as you're looking at those. So make sure you're looking at here, you're just giving the rules. Other times you're asked to give the points. This assignment is due on Monday, and yes, we do have school Monday.